Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about a comment that I've seen appearing a lot more often recently, which is it just keeps crashing or it just keeps going down. And I've started to see this being talked about a little bit more, and I really wanted to bring this up because I think this is something that you will have to learn very quickly in the stock market, or potentially the stock market is not going to be for you and you might not have much success in the stock market. So I've seen this comment quite recently about stocks that just keep crashing or stocks that keep going down. And I think one big thing why this is happening is people have got not used to a 2020 stock market. A 2020 stock market was a stock market which just went up. You could have bought anything. You could have even bought a terrible company and the stock price would have carried on going up through 2020. It was a stock market that just went up whatever you bought, and you saw that quite a lot towards the back end of 2020. There was people that were starting to rush into companies that had no product, no revenue, no profit, and even they were going up in value. We just got to the peak bull market in 2020 where you could buy anything and it just went up in value. And that's changed now. We've entered to 2021, and what started to happen in 2021 is we've started to reach a normal market. And a normal market is not a market where you buy something and it goes straight up in value, which is actually awful as a long-term investor, because as a long-term investor, what you ideally want a stock market to do is kind of go down or flatline for a little bit, so you build that position up. In 2020, if you wanted to build a position in a stock, and you guys, if you were investing last year, you will have known this and noticed this. If you wanted to build a position in stock, it was a nightmare because you were buying something and then next week it was already up 10% and it just wasn't great. But what we have now is we have started to get back to a normal stock market that we had prior to 2020. We are starting to get to a stock market which doesn't just go up in a straight line. You don't buy a stock and the next thing it goes up. There's so many people that got used to buying the stock, and whatever stock it was up in 3 months. And now we're starting to get to a stock market which that isn't happening. You might buy a stock and that stock might not do anything for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And the people that have got used to a stock market of 2020 are looking at a few of these companies now and going, why is that not going up? Like last year, that just went up by now in 3 months' time. And we're actually starting to get back, like I said, to that normal stock market. And this is the reality of a normal stock market. Realistically, when you buy a stock, it is literally 50-50 if that stock is going to go up since you buy it or down since you buy it. That is the reality. It's red or black. There's a reason why when you say stock market and you say who are the successful people in the stock market, people say Warren Buffett. If Warren Buffett didn't give a lot of his money away to charity, he'd be the richest man in the world. But the reason why Warren Buffett is one of the greatest people in the stock market is because he buys companies and he holds them for the long term. Peter Lynch, someone that successfully got 30% returns in the stock market every year, why is he one of the greatest investors ever? Long-term investor. There's no one you would associate with the stock market and go, oh, they're really good in the stock market because they bought a stock and every time they buy a stock in the next 3 months it goes up in value. When you buy a stock, it is 50-50 whether that stock goes up in value or down in value. And there's a reason why when you say who are the greatest people in the stock market, they are all very long-term investors. If there was actually someone that could predict where the stock would go in the first kind of 3 to 6 months, they would be the richest person in the world. They'd be the most famous person in the world. They'd be going, that is the person that is always predicting the bottom of every stock and then buys it and it goes up in value. But there isn't. You don't associate anyone in the stock market with that because it doesn't exist. No one exactly knows when you buy a stock if it goes up in value or down in value. And what people are adjusting to now is that what we had in 2020 of buying a stock and it goes up in value, and people are actually starting to kind of get to this place now where we're into a bit more of a normal stock market where people are buying a lot of companies, and the first 3 months they might not go up. First 3 months they could go up. Some other times they might go down. And a few people are looking at a lot of companies now and they're buying, and whether that be Chinese stocks or a lot of the small caps at the moment, and they start buying these stocks and they go, oh, it just keeps going down, and it doesn't matter as well. You might be buying a company at an absolutely amazing valuation. You might go, surely it can't go any lower than that. But it's a stock market. It's 50-50 whether that when you buy that stock it goes up or down in value. And a few people are buying companies at even really good valuations and then going, oh, but it's going down. Why is that happening? And unfortunately, that is the reality of the stock market. In the short term, anything can happen, and that's why in the long term it is better to be thinking about where that company is going to go in a long period of time. You know, it's quite often what we've had at the moment is people say they are investors, they are a Warren Buffett, a Peter Lynch, they are long-term investors, invest for 2 to 5 years, and then we're starting to have these periods where a stock doesn't do anything for 3-6 months, and they go, oh, I'm fed up with that company, it's a terrible company, you know, it's a falling knife, I'm a bag holder of that company. But then they've only been in the company for 3 or 6 months, but they claim to be a long-term investor. Okay, if you're a long-term investor, how about you judge that on an investment, a long-term basis, not whether it's, you know, red or black, it's gone up or down in the first 3 months. And that's a little adjustment that's happening at the moment. There's a lot of people out there that are struggling with the normal market of not realizing that this is what happens sometimes. You might make an investment and in the short term, that might not be successful. But does that mean it's a bad investment in the long term? No. You know, there's plenty of stocks that the greatest investors of all time would have invested in, and them stocks would have gone down when they invested into it, but they still made good money on it. You've got to look at that from a mindset of that it's a long-term investment, not what it does in the next kind of 3 to 6 months. And one of my favorite quotes about this, which I kind of put to a stock market, even though it's not really from a stock market point of view, but it came from Mike Tyson, which is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And it's a very good quote, and it was Mike Tyson, very famous boxer, and basically went to the point of view, you know, you go into the boxing room with a game plan, you know, everything's going all right, and then boom, you get hit in the face, and you're like, whoa, what's happened? What do I do here? I didn't expect that. Where do I go? What shall I stick to the game plan? Okay, I don't know if I want to do that now. And it's a bit like the same in the stock market. You know, everyone thinks they're absolutely amazing. They you know, look at this stock going, oh, it's absolutely great. I'm going to buy this stock, and then boom, they get hit in the face. The stock goes down 20%, and they go, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen. Do I actually like this company? Do I want to still carry on buying this company? What shall I do now? And it's the same in the stock market. A lot of people, you know, get sometimes caught up with buying the hype story or buying what the stock chart's doing or a ticker symbol without actually realizing that they're buying a company. And you've got to realize you're buying that company. And then whatever happens, if boom, you get punched in the face and that stock goes down 20%, you know, you're not kind of like, oh, where do I go from now? If you have that kind of research and you have that belief in that company and you know where that company is going to go in the long run, if you have your vision of where that's going to go, you know, 2 to 5 years down the line, if you have done the research and you go, okay, I'm down 20% on this one, but where do I go from here? Well, fundamentally, has the company changed? No. Do I still think it's going to hit where I think the profit's going to go, the revenue's going to go in the next few years? Yeah. Okay, so on the stock price that's down, everything else, I believe it's going to go there. I'm confident to keep buying on this company, and I still see it working out in the long run. And what we have right now is a couple of investors that aren't used to that. They're not used to getting punched in the face. And what is happening is they might be buying a stock and then they might not really realize that now we aren't in a stock market that just goes up. You actually have to put that work in it. And there's that reality check of that there will be some stocks now where you might buy them and they go down, you get punched in the face, and you've got to kind of realize, okay, am I still happy to hold this? I've done the full research on it, nothing's changed, and I still believe where that's going to go in the long run. And that's starting to happen more and more. And I've seen that in the comment section, a few people getting worried about, you know, buying a stock and then boom, it goes down, and then kind of not having a game plan with that. You know, a big one that kind of summed it up yesterday was ASOS. You know, ASOS lost, you know, 50% of its value. Boom, another punch in the face, and everyone goes, oh, I don't know what to do here now. And that's one thing. It's one of those where, did you just buy it because you looked at the stock price and went, oh yeah, that's down a fair bit, I'm going to buy that one, it can't go any lower, without really realizing that one, and boom, you get punched in the face and go, oh, it's going lower, what do I do? It's going down. It's a falling knife, I'm a bag holder, what do I do? I'm not actually realizing, okay, is this now a chance to buy shares even cheaper? Has anything changed where it's going to go 2 to 5 years down the line? Can I still make really good money on it? And that's the bit of the reality check that's going on. And I just want to put this into like context as well. So back in 2019, I bought a stock called Tesla. I originally bought this stock, looked, everything was going fine, and then next thing I know, over the course of the next 2019, I was down 30% on the stock. Few reasons why. A few people said that they had selling issues. They weren't selling the cars because they were having to cut the prices of the Model 3 down, which wasn't true. It's because they were mass producing. They also said they're struggling to meet production, factories setting on fire. And Tesla looked at it, thought, you know what, they're still smashing it, they're still going to do very well. We're now in 2021, and since then the stock is up 1,000%. And if you go on my channel, you'll be able to see videos of me talking about Tesla when it was pre-split of, I think, $250. So yeah, that was one that, I bought Tesla, boom, punch in my face, down 30%, but I knew the company, I believed in the company, and I knew in 2 to 5 years that it would work out for it. And there we go, it's up 1,000%. One that's a little bit newer to the channel, I bought Greg's, which was basically, I think, what the channel got famous for quite a few months, back in June 2020. Same again, went down on that position about 30%, punch in the face. You're looking at that one going, why is it going lower? It just doesn't make sense to go lower. It went below CV lows, and you're like, why is it going below CV lows? The stores are back open, it's back operating now. But for some reason, the share price just kept going down and down. Had the confidence to carry on buying it. Boom, up 100% right now on Greg's. And that's another one, punch in the face, 30% down, still made 100% on. And that's a really recent one for you guys. So I'm sure some of you guys watching this video, quite a lot of you watching this video, will have been around when that one happened. GNOG's the most recent one, a stock that I was down, not as much as them two, but the most recent one, for example, was down 10% or up to 20% at one point, I believe, on GNOG. I was like, this valuation's crazy. Still went lower though, and then, punch in the face, but boom, we got bought out by DraftKings. Next thing you know, the stock's up 50%, and that was only August time. So that was only like 2 or 3 months ago. So that's one of the most recent ones. And the last one to use as well, which is Revolve. Once again, another company that punched in the face, down 30%. Look at where that's up now. It's up 450%. All these are all stocks here that I've invested in, and I've took a big massive punch in the face and been down 30%. And I did the research on them. I was down a huge amount, but I believed in them. I know where that's going in the next 2 to 5 years, and a few of these actually even performed better than the 2 to 5 years. And I've used 4 stocks here, and I could have used plenty more as examples, but I use these 4 here. And it's just having that belief. There's going to be times where, and going forward, there'll be times where I carry on buying some stocks, and I'll take a big massive punch in the face and I'll go down on them. But if I have the belief, I have a game plan, I know where it's going to go, I understand the company, I've done the research, check that nothing's fundamentally changed with the companies, and they will perform. And that's the big thing. And we are starting to see that a bit more now. We are going back to that normal stock market, and a few people have kind of got used to that kind of stock market that just goes up all the time, buying something and it goes up. But we are getting to a stock market which has a little bit more test of the mentality here, and there will be more often now stocks that you buy, and it's a 50-50 shot if they go up or down. And the funny thing as well is that, I'll be honest with you, quite often the stocks that I go down on, when I do start buying them, are the stocks that I actually make more money on. The reason why is because if I go down on them, I normally just keep averaging with them, and I make more money on them on the upside, because where I set my target normally stays the same. So yeah, that's just a couple of examples there, but just something that I'm seeing a lot more on recently, because like I said, we are kind of moving away from that stock market that just goes up the time. And when you consider what a lot of the small caps have done so far this year, when you consider the Chinese stocks, for example, some of them have been brutal this year, and it has been a little bit more test of the actual mentality of a lot of investors. And like Peter Lynch once said, there's a company behind every ticker symbol, and you've got to remember that you are investing in that company, not what the ticker symbol. That's the big thing. So yeah, I thought I'd just make a little video on that, and just a bit of a reality check here is that I think a few people have been surprised now getting back into a normal stock market, but this is part of the game. And unfortunately, like I said, if you don't adjust to that, you are really going to struggle with the stock market going forward, because this is it. It's not any more of that stock market of 2020 where it just goes up in a straight line. So yeah, hopefully this little reality check for a few people will be useful. I think there's plenty of people that do watch these videos anyway that do have the right, a really good mentality of the stock market. But I think this was just one more of those reality checks, and maybe just something as well, even if you've got that mentality, just a bit of a, you know, a refresher, I guess, as well. So yeah, hope the video was useful anyway. If it was, hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you next video.